is very rare in our society. As we can see, people love swimming in terms of bonding in our family, friends, relatives, and other people that we meet. Swimming and recreational sports are the propulsion of the body through water by combining arm and leg motions and the natural flotation of the body. Swimming as an exercise is popular as an all-round the body developer and is particularly useful in therapy as an exercise for physical handicapped persons. So for now, we are going to talk about the different types of floating in terms of swimming. So we have first survival floating. Floating equips kids with the ability to roll to their back and stays at the water surface, which places them in an ideal position to breathe. Floating also helps the swimmer to conserve energy, which reduces the chances of drowning from physical fatigue. Jellyfish float. The jellyfish float, also known as the survival float, is a critical part of water safety. This float is sometimes taught in the first stage of swimming lessons as part of the water orientation skills, and sometimes in the later stage as part of fundamental aquatic skills. Learning to float in numerous positions helps in understanding the lifting effect of water. Prone floating. The prone floating is also known as the dead man's float. It is one of the first techniques beginning swimmer to learn. Because it is a technique in which the face is submerged in the water, the prone float helps beginner become accustomed to the sensations and to build confidence in the water. Tack float or tortoise float. Tack float, often mushroom float, involves bringing the knees to the chest, submerging the face, and hugging the legs. It is a preliminary skill for subsalting and is also useful for developing confidence as a tack float position feels wobbly and triggers a feeling of tipping over. Starfish float or dead man's float. The starfish float is a basic swimming technique. To do so, float on your back on your chest in a horizontal position with the arms and legs spread apart. Seen from the above, this position reminds one of a starfish. Flutter kick. Flutter kicks are an exercise that works the muscle of your core, specifically the lower rectus abdominal muscles, plus the hip flexors. They mimic a swimming stroke but are performed on dry land. To flap the wings rapidly, butterflies fluttering among the flowers. To move with quick wavering or fluffing motions, a sail fluttering in the wind. To vibrate in irregular spasms as heart flutter. To move about or behave in an agitated, aimless manner, she nervously fluttered around the office. Whip kick. This is a term used to describe the kick motion that is generated during the breaststroke in swimming. At the beginning of the movement, the legs are outstretched with the toes pointed out and knees together. A whip kick is often used for racing swimmers. Keeping the thighs narrow makes the kick more streamlined and therefore the swimmer travels more efficiently through the water. The lower leg rotates around the knee joint, which for some swimmers can be uncomfortable. A wedge kick is a wider kick where the knees draw out the sides. The feet then push out wide before the legs snap close. Because the knee comes out wider than in a whip kick, the knee joint has less rotational stress, which can be more comfortable for some swimmers. Many children or beginner adults learn a wedge kick because the pattern is clear and easy to understand. It can be modified or tweaked later to become more of a whip kick if the swimmer prepares. The scissor kick. The scissor kick is one of several exercises you can do to build and maintain your core strength. It also targets your lower body, which means you engage multiple muscles in order to complete the move. The side stroke uses a scissor kick where the legs move simultaneously but in different directions, a little bit like the blades of scissors. Let's imagine that you are in the initial position at the beginning of the stroke cycle. Your legs are extended. Your feet are pointed. In the first non-propulsive phase of the scissor kick, your legs flex and move apart on a horizontal plane. Your top legs moves forward relative to your body. Your hip and knee bend simultaneously until both joints are bent slightly less than 45 degrees. Your top foot just follow along. Your bottom legs move in the opposite direction. It bends a little bit backward at the hip and the lat at the knee, more than 90 degrees. In fact, it looks a little bit as if you were trying to touch your buttocks with your lower foot. The second phase of the kick begins once your legs have reached their maximum flexion. Your legs then extend and create propulsion. Your top legs extend both at the hip and at the knee. Your foot is pointed so that you effectively push against the water with your calf and the sole of your foot. Your bottom legs also extended a little bit at the hip and much more at the knee. Your foot is also pointed and you effectively push water backward with your shin and the top of your foot. Your legs continue to extend up to the point where they have moved back to their initial position. You can observe a short life phase once your legs and arms are extended before you start the next stroke cycle. Vertical kicking is a challenging drill, great for promoting an efficient flutter kick instead of kicking across the pool along the surface of the water. Vertical kicking takes place in a stationary position in the deep end. The challenge of this drill is keeping your nose and mouth above the surface. If your flutter kick is weak, you can practice vertical flutter kicking to improve your kick. To start, go to the deep area of the pool, get into a vertical position and start to flutter kick. The kick should start from the hip, move down the leg, and finish with a whipping motion of the foot. The kicking movement should be quick and compact. You should try to keep your head above the water surface and keep your arms still, either extended sideways or crossed over your chest. However, if your kick is weak and it is difficult for you to keep your head above, a light sculling motion with the arms is allowed. Do a few 15-second sets at each swim season. Gradually increase the time per set. With regular practice, your kick will improve and the drill will become easier. To up the ante, you can then try to keep your arms above the water or even holding something above your head like a bow. Once you are comfortable doing this drill, add a little twist. Start the drill in a usual vertical position, then progressively tilt your body forward in the water until it is horizontal. Keep on kicking while you move forward until you reach the end of the lane. Don't forget to breathe too. Dolphin kicking. A swim kick used mainly in butterfly, in which the legs are extended straight back and move up and down in unison with a slight bend in the knees on the upward movement. The body undulation and dolphin kick are essential components of the butterfly stroke. It is difficult to swim butterfly well if you haven't mastered the body undulation first. But once you have mastered this undulation, adding the arms movement becomes much easier. To start, you lie flat on your stomach in the water, the head in line with the body and the face looking down. The legs and feet are kept together and the feet are pointed. You press the chest down in the water, then release it. As you release the chest, You press the hips down synchronously, then release them. As you release the hips, you start again to push the chest down and so on. When the hips go down, the legs should merely follow along with the knees slightly bent. When the hips go up, the legs follow along again. The knees extend, and at this moment, you can add some force and execute the kick. Frog kick, a movement used in swimming, especially in the breaststroke, in which the legs are brought toward the body with the knees bent and the feet together and then kick outward before being brought together again, all in one continuous movement. The first step of the frog kick is to assume that starting position as shown above. The diver should be relatively flat in the water with his knees bent upward at the 90 degrees angle. His fins should be parallel to the floor. His knees and ankles are together. To maintain this position known as proper trim, a diver may find it helpful to look ahead, arch his back, slightly thrust his hips forward, and extend his arms in front of his body. Step 2. Open the fins. Once a diver is in that starting position, the next step is to open his fins to the sides. This motion is mainly in the diver's ankles. The diver simply uses his ankles to rotate the fins blades outward while maintaining his fins parallel to the floor. When performed properly, the thin edges of the fins slice through the water without appropriate resistance. Note: the diver's knees may come apart a bit, and he may feel a small amount of rotation in his hips. This is perfectly fine. The frog kick should not feel stiff or uncomfortable. However, a diver should avoid spreading his legs and open his knees very widely as his toes not contribute to the kick and waste energy. It also brings the fins farther out to the sides of the diver's body and may lead to accidental contact with a reef of other structures. Step 3. The thrust. The third step of the frog kick provides the forward motion of the kick. The diver pushes with the balls of his feet, bringing the fins and the bottom of his feet together behind him. The diver's ankles will rotate and his knees will extend slightly, bringing his fins ever so slightly down. When performed correctly, the diver's feet will move from the flexed position shown in step 2 to a pointed toes position with the soles of the feet angled slightly into face each other. The diver should focus on pushing the water behind him using the power of his legs and ankles. The trick of the thrusting step is to make a slow, powerful motion. Quick and jerky kicks provide very little power, stress the legs, and are uncomfortable. The diver should relax and refrain from spinning his legs and ankles. Feel the fins flexing as a natural extension of the kicking motion. Finally, it is essential that the diver maintains the position of his body's core. His back should be arched, his hips thrust forward, and his arms extended. He should be looking forward. A diver who notices he is bending at the waist or dropping his knees with each kick must focus on isolating the kicking motion by maintaining a stronger torso and upper body position.